don't touch that wine. The crystal glass freezes halfway to Alessandro Vitale's lips. Every head at the mahogany dining table turns toward me, the maid who just spoke without permission. My heart hammers against my ribs so hard, I think it might crack through bone. Alessandro's dark eyes lock onto mine, those eyes that have haunted my dreams for the 6 months I've worked in this sprawling estate, eyes that can promise death or devotion with equal intensity. Right now, they're calculating, trying to understand why the quiet girl who's never said more than "yes, sir," and "right away, sir," just interrupted his engagement dinner. His fiancée, Isabelle Laurent, lets out a sharp laugh. "Excuse me, did the help just give an order?" Her perfectly manicured nails drum against the table. She's stunning in that cold, untouchable way. Blonde hair swept into an elaborate updo, a diamond necklace worth more than I'll earn in 10 lifetimes resting against her collarbone. I can feel my face burning. The other staff members have gone completely still. Marcus, the head butler, looks like he wants to drag me from the room by my hair. But I can't back down now. Not when I know what I know. "I said," Alessandro sets the glass down with deliberate care, "don't touch that wine." My voice comes out steadier than I feel. "Please, sir, there's something wrong with it." Isabel's laugh turns brittle. "This is absurd. Alessandro, are you going to let some girl insult our dinner? That wine cost more than she makes in a year." But Alessandro doesn't look away from me. His jaw is sharp enough to cut glass, covered by the shadow of evening stubble. The sleeves of his black dress shirt are rolled up, revealing the dark tattoos that wind up his forearms, serpents and roses, and something in Italian I've never been able to fully read. At 32, he's the youngest head of the Vitale family in 3 generations, and everyone knows he didn't get there by being careless. "Come here," he says to me. It's not a request. It's never a request with men like Alessandro. I step forward on shaking legs. I'm acutely aware of how I must look. Plain white blouse, black skirt, my dark brown hair pulled into a simple ponytail. No makeup, nothing special. Just the maid. Just the girl who's about to either save his life or destroy her own. "Your name," Alessandro says. "I want to hear you say it." "Claire." My voice barely reaches above a whisper. "Claire Donovan, sir. Claire Donovan." He tastes my name like it's something to be savored. "You've worked here for 6 months. In all that time, you've never spoken unless spoken to. Never caused a moment of trouble. Marcus tells me you're the best maid we've had in years. Punctual, thorough, invisible." He leans back in his chair. "So, tell me, Claire Donovan, why you're choosing tonight to become very, very visible." "Because I love you, I think. Because I've spent 6 months watching you from the corners of rooms, learning your routines, memorizing the sound of your footsteps. Because I know you take your coffee black at 6 a.m., that you work in your study until 2 in the morning, that sometimes you stand on your balcony and smoke a single cigarette while looking at the city lights like they hold answers you can't find. Because 3 days ago I was cleaning Isabel's room and heard her on the phone. Heard her laughing about how the poison was tasteless, how she'd inherit everything, how the old families would never suspect the grieving widow. But I can't say any of that. Not with 12 witnesses watching. Not with Isabel's cold blue eyes boring into me like ice picks. So instead, I do the only thing I can think of. I grab Alessandro's wine glass and bring it to my lips. "No!" Isabel's scream pierces the air. But it's too late. I've already swallowed. The effect is immediate. My throat constricts. The room tilts sideways. I hear shouting, Alessandro's voice cutting through the chaos, but it sounds like it's coming from underwater. My knees buckle. Strong arms catch me before I hit the marble floor. I'm being held against a solid chest, and I can smell Alessandro's cologne, something expensive and dark, with notes of cedar and smoke. "Get Dr. Marchesi. Now." His voice is deadly calm, which somehow makes it more terrifying. "And nobody leaves this room." "Alessandro, don't be ridiculous," Isabel says. Her voice has gone high and thin. "The girl probably has a condition. You know how these people are. Always looking for attention, for a payout. I said nobody leaves. I'm fading in and out of consciousness, but I force my eyes open. I need to see his face one more time, just once. Alessandro is looking down at me, and there's something in his expression I've never seen before. Something almost tender beneath the fury. "Stay with me," he says, and for a moment it's just the two of us. "Stay with me, Claire." I want to tell him that I'd stay forever if I could. That I've been staying, in my own way, for months, staying in the shadows, staying silent, staying close to him in the only way someone like me could be close to someone like him. But the darkness is pulling me under, and all I can do is whisper, "The wine! Don't let anyone touch!" Then everything goes black. I wake up in a room I've cleaned 100 times, but never occupied. Alessandro's guest suite. The sheets are Egyptian cotton, the kind that cost more than my monthly rent. Early morning light filters through heavy curtains. My throat feels like I've swallowed glass, but I'm alive. Welcome back. I turn my head, too fast the room spins, and there he is. Alessandro Vitale, sitting in the armchair beside the bed. He hasn't changed clothes. His shirt is wrinkled, sleeves still rolled up, displaying those hypnotic tattoos. He looks exhausted, dangerous, beautiful. "How long?" My voice comes out as a rasp. 16 hours. Dr. Marchesi pumped your stomach, said another minute, and he doesn't finish the sentence, doesn't need to. It was poison, digitalis, enough to stop a heart. I try to sit up, but my body protests. Alessandro is there instantly, adjusting the pillows behind me, helping me with a gentleness that seems impossible from hands I've seen grip guns, sign death warrants, command an empire. "Isabel," I manage. "In the wine cellar." The irony seemed appropriate. His smile is sharp enough to draw blood. "She's been very talkative. Apparently she had help. My cousin Marco, my accountant, 2 of my suppliers. They thought I'd gotten soft. Thought a pretty face and a wedding ring would be enough to distract me while they carved up my territory." He stands, walks to the window, his back to me. The morning light catches the tension in his shoulders. They were going to kill me at my own engagement dinner, toast my death with my own wine. And the only person who tried to stop them was a maid who makes $30,000 a year and has every reason to hate people like me. "I don't hate you." The words slip out before I can stop them. Alessandro turns slowly. "No," he says, studying me with those dark, penetrating eyes. "I don't think you do." Which brings us to the rather obvious question. Why? My face flushes hot. "I overheard Isabel. In her room. I was cleaning, and that's not what I'm asking." He moves closer, each step deliberate. "You could have written an anonymous note. Called the police. Told Marcus. Instead, you interrupted my dinner in front of a dozen witnesses and drank poison meant for me." He's at the bedside now, close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. So I'll ask again. Why? "Because I love you." The words hammer against my teeth, desperate to escape. Because I've spent 6 months falling for a man I can never have. Because in the early mornings when I'd bring fresh coffee to your study, you'd sometimes look up and smile, and that smile felt like sunlight after years of rain. "You've always been kind to me," I say instead. "It's the truth, even if it's not the whole truth." "You remember names, say thank you. Last Christmas you gave everyone bonuses. Real bonuses, not just gift cards." I'm babbling now, but I can't stop. "And you don't deserve to die because of a woman who only sees you as a bank account." Something flickers across Alessandro's face. "You think you know me, Claire Donovan? You think because I remember your name and say thank you that you understand what I am? What I do?" His voice has gone soft, which is somehow more frightening than if he'd yelled. He leans down, bracing his hands on either side of me, caging me in. This close, I can see the small scar above his left eyebrow, the shadow of exhaustion under his eyes, the precise line of his jaw. "I've killed men," he says quietly. "I've broken families. I've done things that would make you run screaming from this room. The money that pays your salary comes from businesses you'd rather not know about. So tell me again why you'd risk your life for someone like me." My heart is pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it. "Because everyone deserves a chance to be better," I whisper. "And I've seen who you are when you think no one's watching. You're not just what you do." For a long moment, Alessandro doesn't move, doesn't breathe. Then, slowly, he reaches out and touches my face, just his fingertips against my cheek, so gentle it might be a dream. "You're either the bravest woman I've ever met," he murmurs, "or the most foolish. Maybe both." His laugh is low and unexpected. "Definitely both." But he doesn't pull away. His thumb traces my cheekbone, and I can see him wrestling with something, some internal battle playing out behind his eyes. Then he drops his hand and straightens. "Rest. Dr. Marchesi wants you under observation for another day." He's back to business, walls sliding into place. "You'll be compensated, of course. 100,000 for what you did. And I'll provide a reference for any position you want. You won't have to work another day here if you don't want to." The dismissal is clear. He's paying me off, setting me free, doing the honorable thing, and it's breaking my heart. What if I want to stay? Alessandro freezes at the door. That would be extremely unwise. "Why?" He looks back at me, and the hunger in his eyes steals my breath. "Because, Claire, I've spent 6 months trying not to notice you, trying not to watch when you bring morning coffee, trying not to find excuses to be in rooms you're cleaning. I got engaged to Isabel partly because I thought it would make me stop thinking about a girl who deserves so much better than what I can offer." His knuckles are white on the doorframe. "You saved my life. The least I can do is give you yours back. Take the money, leave, forget about me. And if I can't forget, then you're going to get hurt." He says it like a promise, like a threat, like a plea. I don't know how to be gentle with things I want, Claire. And I've wanted you since the day Marcus introduced you. Since I watched you bite your lip in concentration while arranging flowers in the foyer. Since I heard you humming while you worked and realized you were happy, despite having every reason not to be. The confession hangs in the air between us, raw and honest and terrifying. "Who says I want gentle?" My voice is steady now, certain. "I drank poison for you, Alessandro. I think we're past gentle." His control shatters like glass. He's across the room in 3 strides, and then his mouth is on mine, and I'm drowning in him. The kiss is fierce, claiming 6 months of restraint burning away in an instant. His hand tangles in my hair, and I grip his shirt, pulling him closer, wanting to erase every inch of space between us. When he finally pulls back, we're both breathing hard. "This is insane," he mutters against my lips. "Completely. You should be running from me. I'm not much of a runner." He laughs, and it's the most genuine sound I've ever heard from him. Then his expression grows serious. He touches my face again, tender this time, like I'm something precious. "I can't promise you normal," he says. "I can't promise you safe. My world is dark, Claire. Dangerous. There are people who'll try to hurt you to get to me. So teach me," I say. "Teach me your world. Let me choose this with my eyes open." "You don't know what you're asking." "Then show me." For a long moment, Alessandro just looks at me. Then slowly, he nods. 2 weeks, he says. "Give me 2 weeks to clean up this mess with Isabel and her conspirators. 2 weeks to make sure you understand exactly what life with me means. After that, if you still want this, want me, we'll talk. And until then," his smile is wicked, "until then, you rest. You recover. And you think very carefully about whether you want to belong to someone like me." "I already belong to you," I say softly. "I have for months." The look he gives me is pure possession. "Careful, Claire. Say things like that, and I might not be able to let you go, even if you change your mind." "Good." He kisses me again, slower this time, savoring. When he pulls away, there's a promise in his eyes that makes my toes curl. "Rest," he orders. I have people to deal with. And then he's gone, leaving me alone with the ghost of his touch and the certainty that I've just crossed a line there's no coming back from. The 2 weeks that follow are the strangest of my life. True to his word, Alessandro keeps his distance, but his presence is everywhere. Flowers arrive daily, not roses, but wildflowers, the kind that grow untamed. Books appear on my nightstand, somehow perfectly matched to my taste. Dr. Marchese visits twice a day, but I suspect he's reporting my condition to someone else. On the 3rd day, I'm strong enough to walk the grounds. Marcus finds me in the garden, watching the sunset. Mr. Vitale wanted me to inform you that you're not to clean anything, he says stiffly. You're a guest now, Miss Donovan. I don't know how to be a guest here, Marcus. He almost smiles. Few people do. Mr. Vitale has that effect, turning worlds upside down. He hesitates, then adds, For what it's worth, you did a brave thing. A stupid thing, perhaps, but brave nonetheless. Do you think I'm crazy for wanting to stay? Marcus considers this. I think, Miss Donovan, that Mr. Vitale has been less of a monster and more of a man these past 6 months. I think having someone see the best in him, rather than just the worst, might be exactly what he needs. He straightens. I also think you should know what you're getting into. He won't change completely. This life doesn't allow for that. I'm not asking him to change. No, Marcus says thoughtfully. You're asking him to let you in. That might be even harder for him. On the 7th day, Alessandro summons me to his study. I haven't seen him since that morning in the guest room, and the sight of him steals my breath all over again. He's wearing a black suit, no tie, his hair slightly disheveled like he's been running his hands through it. The tattoos peek out from his collar, a serpent's tail winding up his neck. Sit, he says, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. I sit. The room smells like leather and smoke, and him. Alessandro slides a folder across the desk. This is everything about me. Every business I run, legal and otherwise. Every enemy I've made. Every law I've broken. His eyes are hard, challenging. I want you to read it. All of it. And then I want you to tell me if you still think you want this life. I don't touch the folder. I don't need to read it. Claire. I don't need to read it because I'm not in love with your rap sheet, Alessandro. I'm in love with you. The words hang in the air. I've said it now. Can't take it back. Alessandro goes very still. Say that again. I love you. My voice is steady. I've loved you for months. Maybe from the beginning. And I know it's insane and impossible. And I'm just the maid. Don't. His voice cracks like a whip. He's around the desk in an instant, pulling me to my feet. Don't ever call yourself just anything. You saved my life, Claire. You saw a plot that my own security missed. You risked everything when you had every reason to stay silent. His hands cup my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You're not just anything. You're everything. Then he's kissing me again, and it's different this time. Not desperate or claiming, but reverent. Like I'm something sacred he's afraid to break. When we finally break apart, his forehead rests against mine. I don't know how to do this, he admits quietly. I've had women, Claire. I've had relationships, but I've never had someone who looked at me like you do. Like I'm worth saving. You are worth saving. I'm not so sure about that. He pulls back slightly, but I'm selfish enough to keep you anyway. Over the next week, Alessandro shows me his world. Not the cleaned-up version, the real one. He takes me to a warehouse where men in expensive suits discuss shipments and territories. He doesn't hide what they're talking about, doesn't sugarcoat the violence underlying every transaction. Several of the men look at me with curiosity, others with disdain, but Alessandro's hand on my lower back is a clear message. I'm under his protection. He shows me the legitimate businesses too, the restaurants, the real estate, the investments. Shows me how he's been slowly transitioning the family operations toward legal enterprises. how he's trying to build something that won't require his future children to choose between honor and survival. "It's a long process," he says one evening as we stand on his balcony, the city sprawling below us. "My father built this empire on blood. I'm trying to rebuild it on something more sustainable. But there are still obligations, still people who expect the old ways." "I'm not naive enough to think you'll become a saint," I say. "I just need to know you're trying to be better." "For you," he says, pulling me against him, "I'd try to be anything." On the 14th day, Alessandro takes me to dinner. Not at the estate, but at a small Italian restaurant in the city. It's intimate, quiet, the kind of place where everyone knows his name but respects his privacy. Over wine, different wine, he makes a dark joke about always checking his drinks now. He reaches across the table and takes my hand. "I need to tell you about Isabel," he says. I tense. We haven't discussed his former fiancée, haven't talked about what happened to her and her conspirators. "She's alive," Alessandro says. "I didn't kill her. In case you were wondering." I was wondering, I admit. "She's in prison. Her family disowned her. The conspirators." He shrugs. "Some are dead. Some wished they were. That's the world I live in, Claire. When people betray me, there are consequences." I understand. Do you? His grip on my hand tightens, because there's no going back from this. If you say yes to me, you're saying yes to all of it. The danger, the judgment, the knowledge that I've done terrible things and will likely do more. What exactly am I saying yes to? Alessandro releases my hand and stands. Then, in the middle of the restaurant, in front of waiters and diners, and anyone watching, he drops to one knee. My heart stops. "Claire Donovan," he says, pulling out a small velvet box. "I'm not a good man. I'm not the man you deserve. But I'm the man who loves you so desperately it terrifies me. You saved my life, and in doing so, you gave it meaning." He opens the box. The ring inside is beautiful, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, unusual and perfect. "Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of your faith in me." Tears stream down my face. "Yes," I whisper. "Yes, yes, yes." The restaurant erupts in applause as Alessandro slides the ring onto my finger and kisses me. It's a kiss that promises forever, that tastes like hope and risk and love. When we finally pull apart, he's smiling, really smiling, not the sharp smirk he shows the world, but something genuine and vulnerable, and mine. "You're sure?" he asks one more time. "I've never been more sure of anything." "Then let's get out of here," he murmurs against my ear. "I have plans for my future wife." The drive back to the estate is charged with anticipation. Alessandro's hand rests on my thigh, possessive and promising. When we finally pull through the gates, I notice something different. All the lights are on. People are gathered on the front steps. "What's going on?" I ask. Alessandro's smile is wicked. "I told you I don't do things halfway." The car stops and he comes around to open my door, helping me out. The entire household staff is assembled. Marcus, Dr. Marchese, the groundskeepers, the cooks, everyone. Beyond them, I see men in expensive suits, women in designer dresses. The important people in Alessandro's life. He keeps my hand in his as he addresses the crowd. "Most of you know me," he says, his voice carrying easily. "You know I don't explain myself. Don't justify my choices. But tonight is different." He pulls me closer. "This is Claire Donovan. She's been invisible to most of you, just the maid who cleaned your messes and stayed out of your way. But she's the woman who saved my life. The woman who saw a plot when everyone else was blind. The woman who drank poison meant for me without hesitation." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. People crane their necks to see me better. I feel exposed, vulnerable, but Alessandro's hand in mine is an anchor. "As of tonight," Alessandro continues, "Claire is my fiancée. Soon she'll be my wife, which means she's family, which means anyone who disrespects her, threatens her, or looks at her the wrong way answers to me personally. His voice drops to something dangerous. I trust I'm making myself clear. The silence is absolute. Then Marcus starts clapping, slowly at first, then joined by others, until the entire crowd is applauding. Some faces are genuinely happy, others are carefully neutral, but everyone understands the message. I'm no longer just the maid. I'm Alessandro Vitale's chosen one. Later, alone in his bedroom. Our bedroom now, he insists. Alessandro undresses me slowly, reverently. Each piece of clothing removed is followed by kisses, by whispered promises, by touches that make me shake. I'm going to make you so happy, he murmurs against my skin. I'm going to give you everything. The world won't know what to do with us, the mafia boss and the maid, but I don't care what they think. Neither do I. He looks up at me, and there's something vulnerable in his eyes. I've never been this terrified, he admits. Not of enemies or rivals or death, but the thought of losing you, of failing you, that scares me. I cup his face, feeling the stubble rough against my palms. You won't lose me. I'm not going anywhere. Promise me, he demands. Promise me that when this life gets hard, when people judge you, when you see the darkest parts of me, you won't leave. I promise. I kiss him softly. I didn't drink poison just to walk away now. His laugh is rough with emotion. You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Never. Good, he says, and pulls me down onto the bed. I need the reminder that someone in this world thinks I'm worth saving. That night, wrapped in Alessandro's arms, I think about the strange journey that brought me here. 6 months ago, I was just a girl looking for a job, willing to work for a dangerous man because the pay was good and I didn't have better options. I never imagined I'd fall in love with him, never dreamed he'd love me back, never thought that faking a heart attack, or rather actually giving myself a heart attack, would lead to this. What are you thinking? Alessandro asks, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder. That I'd do it all again, I say. Every terrifying second. Even knowing how close you came to dying. Especially then. I tilt my head to look at him, because it showed me who we both really are. You're not just the ruthless boss everyone fears, and I'm not just the quiet maid who stays invisible. We're more together. We are, he agrees. He kisses my forehead. Sleep now. Tomorrow we start planning the wedding. And I should warn you, I don't do anything small. I laugh. I wouldn't expect anything less. As I drift off to sleep, safe in the arms of the most dangerous man I know, I realize something. Fairy tales aren't always about princes and princesses. Sometimes they're about maids and monsters, about ordinary girls who do extraordinary things, about love that grows in the shadows until it's strong enough to withstand the light. And sometimes, just sometimes, the beast doesn't need to become a prince. He just needs someone to see that underneath the beast, he was always partly human, always partly worth saving. The wedding takes place 3 months later. Alessandro wasn't joking about doing nothing small. The ceremony is held at the estate, with 500 guests, half of them legitimate business associates, half of them decidedly not. Security is intense. 3 separate teams sweep for threats. Alessandro has made it clear that anyone disrupting his wedding will face consequences that make death look merciful. I walk down the aisle in a dress that cost more than my childhood home, but I barely notice it. All I can see is Alessandro, waiting for me at the altar in a black tuxedo that fits him like sin. His tattoos are visible at his wrists, that serpent winding up his neck, marking him as exactly what he is. When I reach him, he takes my hands, and I see tears in his eyes. You came, he whispers, like there was ever any doubt. Always, I whisper back. The ceremony is traditional, the priest slightly nervous about officiating a mob wedding. When Alessandro says, I do, it sounds like a vow and a threat and a promise all at once. When I say it, I mean it with every fiber of my being. Then he's kissing me, and the crowd erupts in applause, and I'm married to Alessandro Vitale. I'm Mrs. Claire Vitale. At the reception, Alessandro keeps me close. We dance, his hand possessive on my lower back. Various guests come to offer congratulations, some genuine, some calculating what this means for their own positions. But there's one moment that stays with me. An older woman approaches, elegant in a silver gown. She has Alessandro's eyes. "Mama?" Alessandro says, and there's a softness in his voice I've never heard before. His mother looks at me appraisingly. "So you're the girl who saved my son?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you love him, despite everything he is?" "Because of everything he is," I correct gently. She smiles, and I see where Alessandro gets his dangerous beauty. "Good. He needs someone strong, someone who won't break." She takes my hand. "Welcome to the family, Claire. You're going to need all that strength." She's not wrong. Being married to Alessandro Vitale is not easy. There are threats, attempted kidnappings, suspicious packages, rivals testing to see if I'm a weakness to exploit. But Alessandro has trained me well. I know how to protect myself. More importantly, I know how to be strong beside him. 6 months after the wedding, I'm in Alessandro's study when Marcus announces visitors. Alessandro tenses. These aren't scheduled. 3 men enter, all older, all carrying themselves with the weight of power. Representatives from other families. "Vitale," the first one says. "We need to discuss your transition. Some of us feel you're going soft, prioritizing civilian businesses over traditional operations." Alessandro leans back in his chair, deceptively casual. "And you thought you'd come to my home to tell me how to run my family?" "We thought we'd offer guidance." "Guidance." Alessandro's smile is sharp. "That's interesting, because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're questioning my leadership." The tension in the room ratchets up. Hands move toward weapons. I stay perfectly still in my corner, knowing better than to interfere. Then Alessandro looks at me. "What do you think, wife?" All eyes turn to me. This is a test. For them, for me, maybe even for us. I stand and walk to Alessandro's desk, placing my hand on his shoulder. "I think," I say carefully, "that Alessandro Vitale has survived longer than most men in his position, because he adapts, because he's smart enough to know when to use the old ways and when to forge new ones." I look at each of the visitors in turn. I also think that any man who mistakes love for weakness has never truly loved someone worth killing for. The silence is deafening. Then the first man laughs. "She's got spine, Vitale. I'll give you that." "She's got everything," Alessandro says, pulling me into his lap, a deliberately possessive gesture. Which is why anyone questioning my decisions needs to understand that I'm not going soft. I'm getting smart. The world is changing. We change with it, or we die. The meeting ends with grudging respect. After the men leave, Alessandro kisses me deeply. "That was risky," he murmurs, speaking up like that. "I thought you liked risk." "I like you." He pulls me closer. "Have I mentioned today that I love you?" "Not in the last hour." Unacceptable. He kisses me again. "I love you, Claire Vitale. I love that you're brave and stubborn and refuse to let me push you away. I love that you saved me in every way a person can be saved." "Right back at you," I say softly. And it's true. He saved me too. From a life of invisibility. From thinking I wasn't worthy of being seen. From settling for less than everything. We saved each other. 2 years after the wedding, I'm in the garden when Alessandro finds me. There's something different in his expression. Excitement mixed with nervousness. "I have news," he says, sitting beside me on the stone bench. "Good news or bad news? That depends on your perspective." He takes my hand. The Vitale family is officially out of all illegal operations. I've spent the last 2 years dismantling what my father built, and rebuilding it clean. We're legitimate now, Claire. Completely legitimate. I stare at him. Alessandro, that's everything you've been working for. It's everything you've been pushing me toward, he corrects. You made me want to be better, want to build something our children won't have to be ashamed of. Children. My heart skips. His smile is tender. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yes, Claire, I want children with you. Want to give them a world where they can choose their own path, where they don't have to decide between honor and survival like I did. Tears stream down my face. I love you so much. I love you too. He wipes my tears away. You know, there's something poetic about it. I spent my whole life thinking I'd die young, probably violently. Then a maid faked a heart attack at my engagement dinner and changed everything. I didn't fake it, I point out. I actually drank the poison. Details. He grins. The point is, you showed me that some things are worth saving, including myself. You were always worth saving. Maybe. He kisses me softly, but I needed you to believe it first. We sit in the garden as the sun sets, talking about the future, about children and legitimate businesses and growing old together, about all the things that once seemed impossible for someone like him. And I think about that night 2 years ago. The night I chose to speak up instead of staying silent. The night I drank poison instead of watching the man I loved die. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. It was also the best decision I ever made. Because sometimes love isn't safe or sensible or appropriate. Sometimes it's dangerous and wild and absolutely worth the risk. Sometimes it's a maid and a mafia boss. Sometimes it's everything. Hey, Alessandro says, pulling me from my thoughts. Where'd you go? Just remembering. Remembering what? I smile up at him. Remembering the night I saved your life. You mean the night you ruined me for anyone else? That too. He stands, pulling me up with him. Come on, I want to show you something. He leads me to his study, our study now, and points to the wall behind his desk. There, in a custom frame, is the wine glass, the poisoned wine glass I drank from. Why would you keep that? I ask. As a reminder, he says, wrapping his arms around me from behind, that sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the poison or the enemies or the business deals. Sometimes it's opening your heart to someone and letting them change everything. I lean back against him. Any regrets? Not a single one. He kisses my neck. You? Never. And it's true. Despite the danger, the judgment, the impossible circumstances, I'd do it all again. Would drink the poison again. Would risk everything again. Because Alessandro Vitale isn't just the man I saved. He's the man who saved me right back. He's my husband, my partner, my home. And our story, the maid and the mafia boss, is just beginning. Outside, the sun has fully set, but the garden lights are coming on, turning everything golden. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new threats, new obstacles to overcome. But tonight, we're just us. Alessandro and Claire. 2 people who found each other against all odds and refused to let go. 2 people who proved that love doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be real. And ours is the realest thing I know. Alessandro spins me around, his eyes dark with promise. I have one more surprise for you. What kind of surprise? The kind that involves christening every surface in this study now that we're officially legitimate. His grin is wicked. Celebrating our new life properly. I laugh, breathless with love and desire and joy. Mr. Vitale, are you suggesting something inappropriate? Mrs. Vitale, he murmurs, already backing me toward the desk. I'm suggesting everything inappropriate. And as he kisses me, as his hands find their way beneath my dress, as we celebrate the life we've built together from the ashes of poison and plots and impossible odds, I think, this is what happy ever after looks like. Not perfect, not safe, but real and raw and ours. Just the way I always wanted it. just the way it was always meant to be.